Okay, ready?
Yep.
In 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, and thank you for coming out to our press conference. It's wonderful to be surrounded by the United Gig Workers and our Alliance partners. I'm glad you made it here. Now, before we begin, we would like to acknowledge that this press conference is taking place on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, as well as many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples that call Toronto home. I think it's also worth adding that the systems of oppression that were put in place to dispossess Indigenous people of their lands, deny them their right to self-determination, and embed social and health inequalities continue to negatively impact Indigenous people in our society today. Since we last stood here announcing the results of our 2022 municipal election campaign survey, traffic congestion has gotten even worse and remains a top concern for people trying to get around. It is frustrating for anyone, regardless of what transportation mode one chooses, but it is also incredibly dangerous for the majority of people who rely on transit, walking, biking, or wheeling. Road violence is an epidemic that is plaguing our city, and it affects us all. In 2022, there were 50 fatalities on our streets. 22 pedestrians, 2 cyclists, 10 motorcyclists, and 16 drivers. And with less than half of 2023 behind us, 15 people have died. And in the first 45 days of 2023, a whopping 197 pedestrians and 32 cyclists were hit and injured by people driving their cars on our streets. Let those numbers sink in. We need to treat road violence as the public health crisis it is. I stand before you today alongside and aligned with Gig Workers United and our Alliance for Safe and Active Streets, the Centre for Active Transportation, 880 Cities, the Toronto Alliance for the Environment, Walk Toronto, Friends and Families for Safe Streets, Access Alliance Multicultural Health and Community Services, and the Bicycle Mayor of Toronto. We are calling for safe and active streets for all. If our 10 priority actions were to be implemented consistently and systematically across all wards, Toronto would be a safer, more equitable, and sustainable city for all. At the end of the day, we're simply calling for policies and initiatives that will make our city more economically vibrant and will improve public health outcomes by giving people access to healthy transportation options and opening our public space to people. We sent a survey to Toronto's mayoral candidates to gauge their support for these actions. 16 mayoral candidates responded, including 6 of the leading contenders. Mayoral candidates responded overwhelmingly in support of our 10 priorities, which mirrors recent council votes on items such as reducing speed limits on our city arterial roads to 40 kilometers an hour and on expanding our connected network of the cycling network plan, including Bloor Street West. How the candidates get around also illustrates the need to take a more equitable and balanced approach to how we design our streets to support our multi-modes of transportation. 56% of the candidates that responded rely on active modes of transportation, transit, walking, and biking, versus just 37% who drive. One mayoral candidate relies on taxis due to living with a disability. Investing in safe and convenient infrastructure that supports active modes of transportation is not only necessary to meet the city's transformed TO goal of moving 75% of all trips under 5 kilometers by walking, biking, and transit by 2030, which is fast approaching. It will reduce dangerous conflicts taking place on our streets between road users traveling at different speeds. Vehicular traffic takes up so much of our public space. One parked car can fit 14 bikes. While vehicles are stuck idling in rush hour traffic, people on bikes are quickly able to maneuver and get to where they need to be. The dominant perception is that most people drive, but this is not the case. Car ownership is costly. The city is faced with a budget shortfall of over $1 billion, in large part due to the cost of maintaining the Gardiner and our car infrastructure. The investment we've been making into maintaining the privilege for those that can afford it And it's worth noting that the average debt linked to car ownership is $26,000. This is a high cost, is a detriment to our collective public health and our communities. Instead of designing our streets around cars, we need to design them for people. We look forward to working with Toronto's newly elected mayor to be unequivocal about implementing actions that will take an intersectional and systematic approach to making our streets safer by addressing road violence as the public health crisis it is. This includes building complete streets that benefit everyone. In addition to protecting people outside of vehicles, dedicated bike lanes improve the movement of emergency vehicles and traffic by providing dedicated space for all users. It also improves the safety of pedestrians because there's a buffer between them and vehicular traffic. We would like to thank all of the 16 mayoral candidates who took the time to complete our survey, and we look forward to continuing our collective advocacy work to make our city safer and more equitable. I would now like to introduce you to two inspiring community leaders to speak about how taking a more equitable approach to improving our multimodal transportation network isn't just about road safety. It's also about workers' rights. Jennifer Scott is the president of Gig Workers United and a gig worker doing bike delivery for various apps in Toronto. She advocates for a more just and equitable city by supporting vulnerable workers gaining access to human rights and hold those that benefit from their labor to account. Jess Speaker is the spokesperson for Friends and Families for Safe Streets. She fights for safer streets because she was very nearly killed by a reckless driver in 2015. No Torontonian should ever have to suffer the severe injuries or live through the senseless loss of a loved one because of a preventable crash. And they're all preventable. So with that, I'm going to hand the podium over to Jennifer.
Hi, my name is Jennifer. I'm a gig worker, so I deliver an app, some Uber, dishes, and DoorDash. And I'm the president of Gig Workers United, which is people who do this job uniting together and organizing to win workers' rights through unionization. I started delivering on apps in 2006. currently unsafe for even the most able-bodied adults who actually represent a minority of Toronto's population. 31% of us are composed of children and people aged 65 and up. 24% of Torontonians identify as having a disability. Over 50% of our population faces accessibility and mobility challenges. And those figures do not include people who are injured and find themselves with a temporary ailment that impacts their accessibility and mobility. For people living with a disability and mobility issues, traveling on our streets is often perilous. I personally found this out the hard way after I was severely injured in a preventable crash. I was too injured to drive a car or ride a bike, so I was forced to navigate the city on foot and by public transit. I hobbled slowly around with a broken spine and a banged up knee, trying not to slip and fall, usually failing to make it across a crosswalk in time, leading drivers to honk at me and try to intimidate me with their large vehicles. It was devastating to gain not only with the experience of how easy it is to become a crash victim through no fault of one's own, but also how our streets are so difficult to navigate for someone who isn't able-bodied. Because our leaders have stated their commitment to Vision Zero, it is unacceptable that fully 25% of our streets and roads do not even have sidewalks, and just 4% of our streets and roads have some form of cycling infrastructure. Failing to upgrade our streets to allocate safe space to all road users of all ages and abilities is sabotaging our goal of zero deaths and severe injuries. With almost 300 construction sites across the city, getting around is increasingly dangerous for people outside of vehicles due to the state of gridlock taking place on our streets. I'm specifically referring to the gridlock that prevents people from safely crossing the street because car drivers are blocking intersections or have chosen to park on sidewalks and in bike lanes. The volume of unsafe construction zones has added even more barriers to people when sidewalks and the few bike lanes that exist are closed without warning, forcing people into car traffic. In instances where there is a bike lane that is unexpectedly closed due to construction, cyclists have the unpleasant choice of either dismounting and walking on the sidewalk or joining the line of gridlocked and potentially enraged or distracted drivers. For people in wheelchairs, on crutches, parents pushing strollers or walking with young children, or for the visually impaired navigating streets with a guide feed, they are often left stranded and at the mercy of a kind individual to help them cross the street safe. We cannot leave road safety up to luck and the happenstance of having a kind person nearby. We all deserve to live in a community where people of all abilities, children and their grandparents can get around safely. Prioritizing the movement of vehicular traffic instead of designing our streets and roads to include people of all ages who have disabilities or mobility challenges is a form of discrimination. Privileged people who have access to private car ownership and able-bodied individuals have more choices. People with disabilities who are disproportionately underemployed and low-income individuals are disadvantaged before they even attempt to leave their home. The way our streets are currently designed further limits the safety and comfort of those who already face very limited options. As members of the media, we are asking you to leverage your power to help us keep people aware of the importance of designing our streets with inclusivity and safety in mind. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for helping us shine a light on the importance of improving accessibility and mobility for everyone through inclusive, clean streets design. Thank you.
Would you mind just reading the last paragraph just so we can do a cut?
Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Thank you for helping us shine a light on the importance of improving accessibility and mobility for everyone through inclusive, complete streets design.
That's good. I just stay there. I want to do some cutaways. So you're just looking at her. You stay at the podium, and you're just looking at her. That's it. good. Thanks very much. Now, do you want to say anything? Like a little interview? Do you have a statement to make? Why we're here today? Yeah, we'll do it separate.
Okay, sure. Okay. And then I guess while I'm doing that, if people want to, Maggie's going to take some shots. Do you want individuals? Well, I think we can start with groups just because I want to be mindful of people's time, especially Jennifer and her crew. Yeah. So we'll get like a nice group shot of you and some workers. And I brought cookies too that I'll be busting out. Sure. For those of you who are hungry. That's smart, man. And actually, you know what? If you want to grab, like, they're in my bag on the bike. Yeah, sure. Feel free to. Okay.
So let's go a little to your right.
Okay.
Just so we get part of City Hall and some trees.
Okay.
No, you'll be where the podium is.
Okay. But so if you want
You
that
can have
in the
them in there
background-
too.
Okay.
Not a lot.
Or if you're needing respite from the sun and the shade, feel free. I mean, it is a lot. From me? Oh, look at.
Yeah, that's how it's going to go.
I know, but this is more like this is a somber.
Okay, so you're looking at me.
Okay.
Okay, can we get some more people over on this side? That's it. And closer in. Come on in, don't be shy. Come on in. Come on in. But you're not looking at you're not looking at the camera.
No, I'm looking at you.
You're in the kitchen? I know what you mean. I know.
Voice check.
Voice check.
Keep going.
Voice check.
Oh, a
Alison.
little lower on the mic.
Voice check.
Okay, so you're looking at me?
Yes.
Not over there.
Okay.
Glasses on or glasses off?
Oh, right. I guess I.
You should have them on. And this gentleman in the green, can you go just a little tiny bit to your left? We're just trying to hide some machinery back there. And that works. That's good. Okay, the first thing I need is your name, your title, and how you spell it.
Okay. Alison Stewart, Director, Advocacy and Public Policy for Cycle Toronto. Alison, Alison. Stewart, Stewart.
Just a tiny bit lower on the mic. That's it right there.
Okay.
Okay, what brings us here today?
Well, we're here to announce the results of our Toronto Alliance for Safe and Active Streets, along with the Gig Workers United, to publish the results of our mayoral candidate survey calling for safe and active streets for all.
Do you have those results now?
I do.
You want to tell us?
So,
A
60,
little lower on the mic. A
60,
little that way. The mic. That's it.
16 mayoral candidates responded, and they responded overwhelmingly in support of our 10 priority actions. And of the modes of transportation selected by the candidates, they reflect how people move in Toronto. So the majority, almost 60%, rely on active modes of transportation. That's relying on the TTC, walking and biking, and just 37% rely on cars. So that mirrors what really the makeup of our city. It also mirrors some of the actions that are being voted overwhelmingly at council. Recently, just last week, they voted overwhelmingly in favor to reduce the speed limit on Toronto's arterial roads to 40 kilometers an hour. And they also overwhelmingly voted to expand and implement the cycling network plan. So this is great.
Anything else you want to add?
Well, we'd like to ensure that everyone gets out to vote. It is the way for your voice to get heard. And if you haven't already, vote on Monday, the 26th.
Thank you. No, that was good.
No, thank you.
Very good. Anybody, you want to have anybody else?
Hey!
Thank you very much.
You want anybody else to speak or not?
I think yes. Jennifer, would you like to speak? I think it's important that you have an interview. And Jess as well. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And also, I think it might, if we have time, Robin from
Always got
Young
time.
Fry.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know they're not going to take the
I
whole
know,
thing.
I
Right?
know.
They take the important parts.
So you're going to ask some questions?
Oh,
Okay.
much better than questions.
I'm just going to ask you, what brings you here today, right?
Sure.
Hat on or off? Okay. So turn your body to the left. I want to see the sun. Yeah, keep going. Don't look at the camera. Yeah, see, you got a problem with the shade. What it is. Come up this way. Can you tilt your cap back then? Like the baseball players do for us? That's better. And don't look at me. Can you come over here? You're going to stand right here, and she's going to deal with you.
Okay.
Close to the camera. Never look at me. Always look at her. So the question is, tell me your story to her. Tell me your story. Why are you here today?
My name is Jennifer Scott. I'm a gig worker and the president of Gig Workers United, CUPW. Since 2020, gig workers have been organizing to unionize to win our rights. Here in the city of Toronto, gig workers face really dire working conditions, very unsafe working conditions. We deliver in all kinds of weather, extreme heat, extreme cold, snow, and rain, and we don't have any health and safety protections at work, and we don't have the local infrastructure that we need to keep us safe while working. So we're out here today to speak to mayoral candidates, to let them know that gig workers here in Toronto are organizing. We are calling on mayoral candidates to coordinate with us, as we've seen cities do all over the world, for example, New York, and to work together to build a safer city, to build better infrastructure, and to make Toronto a safer workplace for gig workers.
You want to talk about your accident or not? What happened? Okay, that's fine. Anybody else?
Yes?
Hey, Alison, are you going to show the results?
Pardon me?
You going to show the results?
Sorry?
Do the results?
Oh,
You want to discuss the results?
yeah.
Okay.
We did, yeah, I did.
You know what? Before you run away, Jennifer, I need you back. Give her the mic. I just need the proper. You can do this anyway. Just spell your name.
JENNIFERSCOTT.
And your title is?
So I'm a gig worker and the president of Gig Workers United, CUPW.
Perfect. Thanks. And the first thing I want, when that stops. Okay, the idea is you're always looking at her.
Yep.
Spell your name and your title.
Sure. My name is Jessica Speaker. Jessica, like you'd expect. Speaker is SPIEKER. I'm a spokesperson for Friends and Families for Safe Streets.
Okay, we'll just wait for the fire truck. Okay? So what brings you here today?
I'm here today to support this press conference announcing the results of the mayoral candidate survey having to do with active transportation and issues of. Never mind. You can cut there.
You want to say it over again, or
Yeah,
you
sure.
okay with that?
I'm here as part of the Alliance for Safe and Active Streets for All to participate in this press conference announcing the results of our mayoral candidate survey having to do with lots of aspects relating to road safety and equity on the streets of Toronto.
That's great. Is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah.
Or not?
Yeah.
Is there something else you want to add? Go ahead.
It's the hope of every member of Friends and Families for Safe Streets that these results will help Torontonians elect a mayor who will move our Vision Zero program forward and not backwards. We can't afford to allow more people to be senselessly killed on our streets.
anybody with official gig worker bikes or use bikes.
Well, I think they have their own bikes. They're wearing their t-shirts. Do you want to get?
I just got some cutaways of them.
Okay.
Like riding up maybe.
Okay.
And it could be anywhere. I
Okay.
could do it over there.
You gonna speak here,
Do
Robin?
you want one of Alice? I don't know.
I'll try one. Yeah. Oh, these are good.
Oh, she's such a good baker.
Alison's homemade chocolate chip.
I don't know.
Chocolate chip and looks like some nuts in it.
Yeah, sure does.
Homemade from Alison.
Advocating for safe streets and tasty treats. We're hoping that Kate will still be coming out as
There it goes.
a member of our alliance. Hey, good. Hey, how's it going? I know. It's really, I get these little middle-aged women. Matt, nice to see you. Nice to see you, Chelsea. Yeah. So we were just here with the Alliance unveiling the results of our mayoral candidate survey, calling for safe and active streets.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about that.
Well,
Or do I can watch BBC?
well, 16 mayoral candidates responded, and they are overwhelmingly in support of our 10 priority actions.
Yeah.
They also mirror some of the recent votes in City Council, such as last week's, reduction of the RGL road to 40 kilometers and the expansion of the financial plan. And also, their transportation habits reflect that of Torontonians, right? The majority of which, almost 60%, rely on acrimonious transportation, transit, biking, walking, and just 37% rely on cars, right? One candidate relies on taxis because she's living with a disability overall. So we're very hopeful that the mayor, wants to, and also we talked about dealing with the public health crisis that is our road right? And I noticed that like 50 people died on our streets last year. And that
I didn't know it was that high.
And that includes.
Sorry, I'm just gonna pause
Yeah.
it. I'm just gonna pause it real quick.
Okay.
I'm city staff. I work as a counselor.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah.
Phil, don't post that.
Yeah.
Right? We're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all we wanted to
Okay. Yeah. I'd rather not be. Right? As city staff, right? Yeah. Sorry.
So, it's interesting.